Hey everyone, welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. Welcome back to Wrestling with Omer. I am your host, as always, Omer Q, and I have a show stored for you guys. Is Wrestling with Omer. As you guys know, if you guys have been watching, if you're watching for the first time, welcome. It's a fan-run show. Obviously, it is November 3rd now. It's already November. Time is ticking away. But we're still here. Got Cody Rhodes era in the chat. Yo, what's up, Cody? We've got a lot to get into today. Obviously, Shane McMahon. That is one of the bigger stories that people have been talking about all year. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that whole situation, kind of where it stands, and whether or not we could see Shane in AEW. We're also going to talk about the potential of a Ring of Honor TV deal that is on the table. There's a lot of speculation, but there's also a lot of true talk when it comes to that. So we'll see where that ends up. We'll get into that, and we're also going to get into everything else you guys want to talk about, because this is, of course, a fan-run show. You guys leave your chats. We'll get to them. We'll talk about it. Do want to do a quick plug, though, off the top. Just shout out to the boys, Kenny Baum, Just Brian, and Carol. But I do want to do a quick shout out, or a quick plug, about channel memberships, guys. It's the best way to show your support, get exclusive perks like emotes and guaranteed reply to comments and things like that on the channel. This is a new thing that I'm rolling out. You guys can go on the homepage and become a channel member today. It really supports the work we're doing, and it really helps, keep things running, and also just honestly makes me feel better about where things stand, to be honest with you. So if you guys can, obviously, I'm never going to force anyone to spend money, but if you guys can leave a like too, that's just as good. I appreciate that. We got Mr. Majestic in the chat. Sorry, Mr. Majestic 13 in the chat. Are those 3 or 4? Yeah, it's 3, because you can't do numeral. Anyway. Tony Khan needs a partnership with Scott D'Amore and his Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling more than a partnership with Shane McMahon. It's funny you mentioned that, because we did see, I think, a few AEW stars on that first Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show a couple of weeks ago. We saw Konosuke Takeshita defend the International Championship. Ricochet made a run-in as well. So I think there already is a bit of a partnership with the Maple Leaf crew and with Scott D'Amore. So I think you're on the right track. But I do think you don't need a partnership with Shane, because, look, God knows Tony Khan does not need the money, right? God knows that. Man is a son of a billionaire, one of the richest people on the planet, way richer than any of us will ever be combined. But I think for momentum, especially going into this big-time, deal with Max that they are starting up in January, you got to have a big splash. Goku Fan Club says, will Shane come at this pay-per-view or at World's End? I have always maintained that I believe that Shane will show up at World's End. I'm not going to lie. It has been a long road getting to here. But at the same time, now I have said, recently, I will say, I have said that I also think that this current story that they are telling, they being AEW, are telling with the Death Riders, I believe, or what they call now, the Blackpool Combat Club, whatever we want to call them. I don't think it necessarily needs Shane McMahon. But I do think it would be a positive for AEW if they could get Shane McMahon. Just talking about that quickly. I think there was a point where I was almost certain that Shane was coming. Like, almost certain that Shane was coming. And now, and again, I don't have any sources or nothing. I'm going off of reporting. I'm going off of vibes. And that traditionally has worked. And it's easy. Like, if you understand, like, kind of how to read, like, reports, media literacy, things like that, you understand kind of how to read between the lines of reports and see what's out there. But the idea that, there's nothing going on, I still don't believe it. I again, you can call me naive. You can call me a mark, whatever you want to say. I just don't believe that there is no contact or no potential for a relationship. I mean, potential is that I think there is something with Shane. There's too many variables. There's too many coincidences. And again, I could be wrong. I still think World's End is the best time for him to show up. And I would still put like a 60% chance that he does show up at World's End. I just call it a gut feeling. I had like a very similar feeling when, although I think there was a lot more speculation about Edge than there was now, but like when Adam Copeland, Edge, whatever we're going to call him, came over, I do think that like that was a bit speculatory on my part, especially like considering just like the wins of everything that was happening. I still maintain that I think Shane will end up in AEW at some point. Whether it's World's End, we'll see, but I still maintain that. Why did so many WWE wrestlers leave or get released under Triple H? Most of them went to AEW. We'll talk about this in a sec because I do want to talk about the releases later on, but that's a good chat. We got Catchcast. Shane won't be there, and I think Tony knew that for a long time. If Tony knew that, and that's the other thing, and the other reason why I've been talking about this for so long, if Tony Khan knew that Shane wasn't going to be there, or if he like truly, you know, when he was asked all those times, and he was like, you know, it'd be great, and like did that thing where he's like, he's not promising it, but usually, like almost all of the time, this might be the you know, exception now, but almost all of the time that Tony is asked about something and it won't happen, he goes out of his way to tell you and at least give you hints that it won't. He has not done that with this Shane McMahon stuff. He has not done that. He has teased. And given the way that Tony Khan promotes, given the way that, you know, he doesn't undersell things and promise things or even hint towards things that he can't deliver, I think it would be a bit of a bad look if Shane didn't come in. So we'll see. I saw a video of Tony Khan coming out with Lil Uzi Vert dissing the Acclaimed. It was actually really fun. Wait, what? Tony Khan came out with Lil Uzi Vert? Ain't no way. Bro, why are you lying to me? What are these lies that you're trying to sell me Wall Street money? I don't see nothing about this. The Shane stuff is super interesting, says an account that says they are Andrew Zarian. Damn sure it is super interesting. And if that is the real Andrew Zarian, hello. We got Catchcast in the chat. You think you would tease if the deal isn't done? That would be a bad look. I could see it from like a promoter's perspective. Like, you know, the thing with like promoting, right? You got to remember at the end of the day, you're trying to sell people on the idea of a show, right? You're trying to sell them on the idea of like tuning into a show. Like, you want to make sure that you have enough like hype and you know like speculation out there about like your show, so you create buzz. And from that perspective, if like, you know, he's leaning a bit, and again, I say leaning more so as like someone who's like kind of watched the way he does interviews, like Tony again tends not to overpromise or tends not to like hint towards stuff that he doesn't that he knows he can't deliver on. So for that reason, I'm like, you know, like I get it if he's kind of leaning into it because it's a very interesting thing. At the end of the day, it's a very interesting thing. People are still talking about. I'm still talking about it. I'm still doing podcasts about it. So I understand that idea of like, you know, creating buzz, and it has created buzz. People are still waiting for Shane McMahon. the thing is, I do think you get to a point where, you know, the chickens are going to come home to roost and Shane won't be there. And like, is what you have planned going to be better or at least on the same level of the hype or you know, hullabaloo, hoopla, whatever that Shane would bring in? That's the like eternal, well, not eternal because it's pro wrestling at the end of the day. But that's the question, you know. I think this is a very interesting story though that they're telling with like the pillars or whatever of AEW, like the guys who have really shined, like Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin. Like I there's something to the idea of Jon Moxley looking at this roster 5 years later and being like, there's no one who can take the mantle. And that is a problem, and he is out to fix that problem. And at the end of the day, he doesn't care whether or not he's a good guy or bad guy. It kind of reminds me of, if y'all watch Naruto, like it's a little bit of he reminds me of like Itachi in that way. It reminds me of Itachi Uchiha from Naruto, because the whole thing with Itachi was, you know, he was Sasuke's brother and he did this horrible thing where he like murdered his entire clan. Obviously, Jon Moxley, well, he murdered Bryan Danielson in kayfabe, whatever. But the thing with Itachi was he was always doing it for the greater good. No matter what it made him look like, no matter how bad of a light he was in, at the end of the day, it was always about doing things for the greater good. And I think that's what, you know, they went for here. And I think that's what they're going for, here. They are going for doing what's best for not only AEW, but best for, you know, like the future of pro wrestling, as the way Jon Moxley sees it. I think if they're able to tell that dynamic of a story, and like at the end of it, if Moxley like looks at Darby and gives him all, I knew you could do it, kid, that would be an interesting wrinkle. At least for me. I don't know if how many other anime. I mean, I'm sure there's like a shit ton of anime fans that watch wrestling, but yeah, I think there's I definitely think that there's a lot of potential, of potential for this storyline, like really. So we will indeed see. It is the real Andrew Zarian. Hello, Andrew. Big fan of the work you do, and with Rich. Shout out to you, my friend. If you're ever at a wrestling show in New York, or if I'm ever at a wrestling show in New York and you're there, let's meet up. We got, long chat by Mr. Majestic. What long-term impact would Shane McMahon have in AEW? Shane wasn't necessarily a creative / booking genius under WWE. He was just okay booking, or he was just as okay at booking as Jimmy Jacobs. I don't think you bring in Shane to book. I think you bring him in as a talent. Like, I don't think he needs to be there to provide, like, you know, the big ideas or whatever. I think he's just there to be, like, you know, an on-screen character. And that's a good thing. That's a dope thing. Like, if Shane comes in and he's just an on-screen character and there's this buzz about him, and, like, it's going to get picked up because, like, a McMahon in another company that isn't WWE, that is an insane thing. Right? So I think that would be like really, really cool. Shout out to you, my guy. We got Frank G. Could Baron Corbin go to TNA? I think, yeah. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. I think Baron Corbin can go anywhere he wants. I mean, well, maybe not AEW immediately, but like, I think there's going to be a tremendous market for Baron Corbin. Especially if you look at like the last 2 years, I want to say, like, yeah, last 2 years of his run in WWE, it has been spectacular. Like compared to especially where he was, like when he was a Constable Corbin, I think he did a lot to kind of prove the doubters wrong, and also make sure that people had like a perception of him that was beyond just being like the annoying, you know, X-Pac Heat guy from when he was GM of Raw. Like the stuff he was doing with Braun Breaker, especially as the tag team, I thought he really shined in that spot. Like, not only was he able to kind of, I think, get Braun a little bit more comfortable with the promo aspect of it, the more like, charismatic aspect of it, because you can say whatever you want about Baron Corbin's wrestling or whatever. I think he's a fine wrestler. I think he's great. He's not a Zack Sabre Jr. or whatever, but at the end of the day, I think he's a dope guy. Like in the ring, I think he can work with just about anyone and make them look good. So when you have that, there's a need for that guy. There's a need for that guy in TNA. There's a need for that kind of guy in MLW. Hell, there's a need for that kind of guy in GCW. That would be insane. Seeing a death match, seeing Baron Corbin in a death match would be wild. You got Andrew Zarian saying Corbin would be good for TNA. Yeah. We got a monster super chat from Dwayne Jackson. Appreciate the support, Dwayne. Thank you so much. Saying, with regards to the Hurt Syndicate in AEW, I honestly think they are not needed in AEW. AEW keeps signing ex-WWE talent. They are pushing younger talent down the card. Talent is frustrated because of this and want to leave. So you bring up a good point. I'm just going to, not minimizing your point, I'm just going to minimize you so people can see me. But I think your sentiment is very understandable, because there is that prevailing thought, I think, online that, a lot of WWE guys showing up in AEW, and that's like a bad thing. And I've always thought of it like this, right? And I'll get to the Hurt Syndicate specifically in a sec. But I've always thought of wrestling free agency like you would any other type of free agency. If you're in the NFL or whatever, or if it's soccer / football, if you got a Tom Brady out there, if you got a Neymar out there, even though F Neymar for various reasons, but if you got a big star out there, you got a Kirk Cousins out there, right? If you're a football fan, let's stick with football because that's what I know, and it just so happens to be Sunday. My Ravens are playing, but you got a Kirk Cousins out there, a very, very good quarterback, a guy who can make just about any throw. At least for depth reasons, you would look into signing a guy like that, right? And that's what the Falcons did. The Falcons were trying to, for years to solidify that quarterback position, and they did with Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying I imagine explaining this a little wrong because Kirk Cousins is like a franchise guy. But anyway, to back. When you are building a roster, whether it's in the NFL, the NBA, MLS, whatever, when you are building a roster, you want to make sure that you are able to attract free agents. And I think for a very long time, we looked at the landscape of professional wrestling. A lot of ex-WWE guys showing up in TNA. A lot of ex-WWE guys showing up in whatever indie promotion. I think we kind of need to get out of that mindset a little bit with AEW. Because while AEW is not as big a stage as WWE, they are a legitimate challenger brand to that product. They are offering comparable money. They are leagues above what TNA was years ago. And I think there is an understandability from my point. I understand the idea of they're getting all these WWE guys and it looks bad. But at the same time, you want to fill your roster with people, or you want to make sure you have a roster full of people who are really good at what they do, can attract buzz, and make sense for the story. And for those three reasons, I think that the Hurt Syndicate, the Hurt Business, whatever you want to call them, I think they are good for this because you immediately are able to establish a stable in AEW immediately. A stable that was hot in WWE, that people argue was not capitalized upon in WWE. And you're able to build it, I think, towards something. I don't think the goal is just to get Bobby Lashley over. I think you're going to see other people join the Hurt Syndicate. You've seen MVP do his recruitment, reach out to Ricochet, reach out to Mercedes, reach out to a whole bunch of people. That's why I think this is all leading up to two things. Number one, building up a younger guy or a couple of young guys in the Hurt Syndicate that will be better off because they will have competed and with and against eventually Bobby Lashley. Like, I think Powerhouse Hobbs is like the perfect guy for this spot because for years we've been talking about his potential. He's like another guy we've been talking about potential, and I see it. I see superstar written all over this guy. I just don't think AEW have had the storyline or, quite honestly, sometimes the patience to pull the trigger. If they do a bit of a, like for comparison's sake, they do a bit of like a Batista evolution thing with Will Hobbs turning on Bobby Lashley, seeing the light, and finally like being able to overcome this big hurdle that he's had and get over. If he's able to do that and take out a former world champion, an established guy, then it's worth bringing Bobby Lashley into the company. On top of the buzz, on top of the fact, this is a very interesting feud for Swerve to be in. Like, you had the dynamic of Swerve, you had the dynamic of Swerve like in this battle he was in with MVP and Prince Nana, and they were battling for, who gets like Swerve Strickland, who gets the right to challenge Swerve Strickland, whatever, or manage Swerve Strickland. You had all that, and then you have like the aspect of it of, all right, now we got former world champion Swerve Strickland versus former world champion Bobby Lashley, and we know we're building that feud. And along the way, we get Shelton versus Swerve. Along the way, we get promos with MVP and Swerve. We get promos with MVP and Prince Nana, which I've enjoyed. And I think at the end of the day, it's good stuff. Is Bobby Lashley going to be the world champion in AEW? Probably not. And nor should he be at this point. But I think there's a value of bringing in established guys. And I do think this. You need to do it in a way, especially with a group, when you're bringing in a group like the Hurt Syndicate, you need to do it in a way where it actually propels some of your younger guys or girls, right? I think there's that potential to do it here. So I understand the frustration, especially from talent. I understand the frustration that many fans might have about it. But I also believe that there's a lot to be written in this story, and just with this one, sit tight, because I think it's going to be a good one. I'm enjoying it at least, so we'll see. But thank you so much, Dwayne, for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Guys, you guys can leave a super chat, and I can, ramble for minutes on end about whatever the hell you want to talk about. Very generous of you, Dwayne. I appreciate you, my good friend. Thank you. Wall Street Money. Ooh, let's make you a little bigger here. Jesus, I call myself there. AEW made Swerve a star, an ex-WWE guy. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't see Swerve as an ex-WWE guy. And if we take that out, if we take out every single person who's ever been in WWE out of contention, then we're not gonna have many pure AEW guys, right? Or girls or whatever, right? Is Tony Khan booking Orange Cassidy to eventually be the next AEW World Champion with Jon Moxley putting him over? That's a very good question. Here's what I will say. I do think Orange Cassidy will win the AEW World Championship one day. I don't think it's with this story. I think this story leads to Darby Allin winning it. Darby to me is the guy. And I see Leslie in the chat. Welcome, Leslie. Says, I think Darby will be the one to dethrone Mox. I do think this entire story has been building to Darby. I think for Darby, it's going to be that major moment of he's the guy who represents AEW above everyone. Who's left outside of the Elite, obviously, but he's the one who represents AEW. He's the young guy. He's the pillar who everyone's waiting to break out. I think he eventually takes it, but I do think there's a path for Orange Cassidy in the AEW World Championship eventually. Dwayne Jackson follows up with another very generous super chat. Appreciate you, Dwayne. The point is the AEW roster is already bloated as it is. Adding the Hurt Syndicate really does nothing for AEW creatively. When creatively is hit or miss weekly, no long-term booking. I see that. And I understand, again, I understand the idea of like, looking at it and being like, well, they didn't book like a lot of these ex WWE guys, right? Why should we believe it here? And I sympathize with that. I agree with it to an extent, but I think it's more of a case of like, okay, ask me in like 3 months where we are with this story, and if we're still like treading water and we're dragging our feet and they're not doing anything of any importance and they haven't added another person to this group, then I'm not gonna argue. In fact, I'll agree and say it was probably a mess. As far as the roster being bloated, I do think that there's a chance that some of that will be fixed or at least somewhat fixed when they get to this new deal. And I also think if they end up adding what was it, AEW Shockwave or whatever, if they end up adding that, I think that there's potential there for a lot of good stuff too. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Look, at the end of the day, it is a bit of a crapshoot, I will say. Like, sometimes these things are going to work out, sometimes they're not. I'm enjoying the story, and like that just might be me. But I think, signing a Baron Corbin, right, for example, right off the bat for no reason, like, I don't see that. Signing, another, like, as much as I love Indy Hartwell, and I think she's, like, got a lot of talent, I don't think she should be necessarily a priority for AEW yet. I think she could be very soon. And again, that's just, like, the recency of people who were just let go from the company or whose contracts are just up. We'll see. At the end of the day, I think that there's a certain level of goodwill, like I'll kind of give to this, especially like the Hurt Business or Syndicate, whatever you want to call them. Again, business syndicate, we in business. But I'm gonna give it a little bit of goodwill. And I think fans should too. Like, at the end of the day, Bobby Lashley, man, like, come on, bro, he is looking. I'm gonna say it. Y'all, a lot of y'all out there won't like it, I'll say it. Bobby Lashley, man, for 49, 48, however old he is, insane. Looks better than me right now, and I'm like in my 20s. Crazy. Shout out to Bobby Lashley. I'll never look as good as that. Well, maybe if I shape up my beard eventually, I might. But again, I do see your point, Dwayne, and I think if we see this as a trend and it continues, and they're not doing stuff to build up younger guys in AEW, then I agree, and I think the creativity, then the creative approach is wrong. But we'll see. But appreciate you again. Thank you so much. You've already donated in the stream, and I appreciate the support, my friend. Got Miro. Oh, now you're just listing former WWE guys. Wardlow isn't a former WWE guy, right? No, Wardlow isn't a WWE guy. Ricky Starks. Oh, we got Miro, Malachi, Big Bill, Ricky Starks, AEW dropped the ball with these guys. Oh, I don't think... Watch out for Big Bill. I think that there's stuff for Big Bill happening. Ricky Starks 100% agree. They dropped the ball with that man. Free that man. Send him to WWE. I want to see that man in NXT so bad. Is Shane going to use Here Comes the Money or not? I think that's a sting from a rap song. Hold up. I think it is. I do think it is. I'll look it up later, but I'm pretty 90% sure it's a sting from a rap song. So worst case, they can still use the Here Comes the Money, and the rest of it, they might have to find a different theme, but that's really what you want. What did you think about the Fright Night Dynamite? I thought it was a great show. I thought it was a fantastic show. I really enjoyed the stuff, obviously, with Mox and Darby Allin, like basically taking over the propelling down from the rafters from Sting. I thought it was really funny. Quite frankly, I thought it was really funny. Because Darby also is like wearing this like ridiculous. Like, I love Darby, but ridiculous. Pink like coat or whatever. And like you can spot it from a mile away. It's so funny. I love that. But I thought it was a really good show. Shout out to Private Party and the Young Bucks. They had a freaking awesome match. One of the best. I've said this about the Young Bucks. Like, say what you want about the Young Bucks. I think their creative stuff has been stale this year. But the matches don't miss, man. These guys are still like two of the best tag team wrestlers to ever do it. But overall, I thought it was good. I thought there were some interesting wrinkles being thrown in there with the storytelling of the Elite. You know, kind of like the Young Bucks going away, Moxley and all them beating up Brandon Cutler. That sows this or lays the seeds or whatever for the Elite to kind of join forces again and combat the Blackpool Combat Club or the Death Riders, whatever you want to call them. I think Ricky Starks headed to NXT. I agree. I think whenever his contract's up, I don't think we know yet when exactly his deal is up, but whenever that deal is up, oh boy, watch out. Watch out. God, man, I could not say many more things like better about Ricky Starks. I think he's freaking awesome. Just like you're freaking awesome. If you guys smash that thumbs up so more people see the stream, guys, all you got to do is hit that thumbs up. I would appreciate that very much. We got Goku Fan in the chat saying, what do you think about the Young Bucks next storyline? I think it should be... So, here's the thing. They have this match, or they have this entanglement. I don't even know what to call it. They have something booked. They have face-off match, something, with Tanahashi, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty in the beginning of January. I think their next storyline will be Kenny Omega showing them the error of their ways and them coming in to be like essentially like the final bosses of AEW and being like, nah, we're taking this thing back from Mox and the Death Riders. That's what I think. Naughty by Nature, hell yeah, man. You're right. That was a Naughty by Nature song. I was like trying to think. I was like, for some reason, I was like, why do I keep thinking about Natalia? I was like, Natty by Nature. I was like, stupid. Appreciate you, Dwayne, for that. We got Leslie in the chat. Real take. Are you attending All In Texas? I've been to Dynasty, Dynamite, but haven't attended All In yet. Really hoping to get tickets to it. I think my plan as of right now, unless like, you know, something major happens in my life, I will be at All In, and I will be there. And I can say, for anyone who is wondering, you know, like, can AEW put up like a WrestleMania level production or, you know, a stadium show level production, whatever you want to call it? I do think they can. There's definitely some kinks to be worked out there. 2 for 2 or 0 for 2 when it comes to streamers in AEW stadium shows, because every time they pop the big streamers, they get tangled up in the trusses that hold up the big sign there. But I think AEW, no, they understand now what it takes to pull off a stadium show. Excuse me, mumbling. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun show. My plan right now is to be there. I think that's one of the only big shows I'm going to next year. I don't plan to go to a lot more wrestling shows. It's probably gonna be All In and All Out. And then depending on like if there's shows on like the East Coast I can go to that weekend, I'll head up there. But I think for me, it's going to be a lot less wrestling shows in general than it was this year. This year, I think I went to like 15, 16, which is insane. Yeah. But All In Texas should be fun. Tickets, as far as that goes, it's going to be interesting to see how well those ticket sales go. We'll see. They're going to have to hype the shit out of that, though. But I think you'll get tickets. So if that's your concern, you will get tickets to All In. Shout out to my boy, Just Brian. Guys, if you guys love wrestling video games and you like to stay updated on wrestling video games, Just Brian, there he is. Just Brian is the guy to follow. Him, Kenny Baum, Kid Ocero, they all are amazing content creators. Well, 3 of my good friends in the wrestling media space. Guys, go check out Just Brian if you're into wrestling games. He's the guy. He's the man. He's the He's the dude. Oh no, that's not good. Mondo just super chat. I mean, it's great, but it's not good. Just super chat is $6.66. I think I'm cursed now officially. Does that mean I'm cursed? Appreciate you, Mondo. If you have a chat or a question that you want to ask, I'm happy to answer it. Just put it in the chat. Oh my God, guys, we got a good showing out here, guys. We got about 48 of y'all watching, but only 17 y'all liked. Be sure to hit that like button, guys. Leave that thumbs up. Oh, you did leave a chat, Mondo. Let's talk about this real quick. There's so many AEW negative trolls on social media. Why do you think that is? I think it's just so. I think that there's like a psychologically like a parasocial kind of hit, almost like a drug that people get from like being a part of a team and also like trolling a little bit online. I think it comes down to a few things, right? Number one, you just got like a lot of WWE loyalists, like fans who all they know is WWE, and they feel like, well, this might hurt WWE, and there's this weird like parasocial relationship with the company there. I think also, and you have this both ways. Like there's like negative AEW fans, there's negative WWE fans as well. But I think part of it is like, the hype that was around AEW and like the fact that it was such a regarded product, especially at a time where WWE was doing so bad. You have a lot of people like right now, they're doing the loyal victory lap because, WWE is doing so well and AEW sucks. When at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about watching the show. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot to. I also think like at the end of the day, like social media, it does like inflame tensions a lot because the algorithms that Twitter and all these other social media platforms, mostly Twitter, because this is where a lot of it happens. The algorithm that Twitter has, it pushes negative shit on you all the time. It pushes shit on you that they know you will not like, but you are likely to engage with. And that inflames tensions. That makes things a lot more tense. And I think it's really made talking about wrestling online a pretty toxic place. Whereas like a couple of years ago, it was not perfect. It was by no means perfect. And like you still had like a lot of negative stuff about wrestling. But it was a lot more fun than it is now. It was a lot more memey than it is now. And unfortunately, I think part of it is also people are just in their echo chambers. Ever since Elon bought Twitter, there's so much rage baiting. Yeah, there's a lot of rage baiting. Ryan Davis saying, finally, this guy being truthful finally. When am I not truthful? I'm always truthful. I know the truth. The truth has set me free. But will the Panthers set Bryce Young free? That's a question you got to ask yourself, Ryan. Yeah. What do you think the compensation is going to be for Bryce Young? If you guys get like a 4th round pick, that would be great. Honestly, if you guys get a 4th round pick for Bryce. But shout out to you, Ryan. Hope you're having an amazing Sunday. Oh, we got another super chat. Appreciate you, Dwayne. Dwayne Jackson, thank you so much for another super chat here. Would this Death Rider storyline continue? Do you think this could lead to a blood and guts match? Oh, man. Could it? Yes. Should it? Oh, no. Oh, no. So here's the thing. If I know Tony likes the tradition of things in AEW, and there's like this. He likes to keep things the way they are usually, but I would, if Blood and Guts is happening in the summer, I would not be a fan of that. I would not be a fan of continuing the story till Blood and Guts, unless there's like a major shift. Unless Shane does come in and like there's like that major shift. I don't know if this storyline can last like nearly a year like that. But if they move up Blood and Guts, you have it in like March or you have it in April, whatever, January, because you don't have a January pay-per-view. Maybe that's when you do it. And that could be good, actually, to help build up the hype and the seriousness of it. If you can do it in January, I think, yeah, you could do that. But it just depends. I don't I think usually they have Blood and Guts as a show in July or in the summer sometime. I don't think they should do that if their goal is to do it this rivalry, whatever. Yeah. And frankly, I like both companies. Yes, there's things to like about both companies. There's things not to like about both companies, man. I've always said this, and my advice to like most wrestling fans out there is there's nothing wrong with being excited about a big show, being excited about a company doing well. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also think that there's not danger, but I also think it's more important, I will say, it's more important to support the wrestlers you like, support the stories you like, and support the type of wrestling you like more so than it is to hype up an entire company. You will never see me walking around with a WWE logo, like a big fat shirt with a WWE logo on it. You'll never see me walking around with a big fat shirt, the AEW logo on it. Unless it's an insanely cool design, then I don't know what to tell you. But I always like to believe that like people should support wrestlers, people should support the wrestling they love, the vibes they love in wrestling over just like the company. Got Brian saying 40, some of y'all in here, hit that like button. Appreciate you, Brian. Hit that like button, guys. Come on. Listen to the man before he beats all of y'all up. He's really tall and buff. He'll do it. Oh, man. I just bet the house on DraftKings against my Panthers. We are possibly the worst team in NFL history. Hey, yo. Oh, no. Come on, Ryan. You got to have a little bit more faith. You got to have faith, Ryan. Oh, wait. Who are the Panthers facing today? Come on. Oh, you got the Saints. That's a winnable game. That is a winnable division game for y'all. Y'all are doing it up. All right. You know what? Ryan, just because of that, I'm putting, I don't know about the house, but I'll put $10 on the Panthers. All right. I'm putting $10 on the Panthers just for that. All right. Shout out Bryce Young. He's getting that dub. All right. He's getting that dub. Shout out to Bryce Young. By the way, I know I'm missing some chats, guys. I'm doing my best to keep up with it. We got a lot of backlog. Where's Julia Hart? I think Dwayne had said it earlier, but she is still injured, I think. But she's waiting for creative, is what I believe. We got No Fugazi Wrestling. Ayo. Shout out to my boys. Sorry. Top of the day, Big O. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a better day. Hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you, No Fugazi Wrestling. Hopefully, did I say that right? Fugazi? I don't know. Ryan Davis, you will lose that $10. Hey man, look, I'm just trying to hype up the Panthers. All right, I think it's a winnable game. You got the Saints. All right, with like my lord, my football god, Spencer Rattler, who I bet like a lot of money on being like a first round pick, that I lost money on being a first round pick. Not this year, but like a couple of years ago. I was like, yo, he's got this. He's got this in the bag. Let's see. No, the 2012 Cleveland Browns are the worst team. Oh, it's not 2012. It's the 2017 Cleveland Browns. Or 2017? 2017, 100p. It's the 2017 Cleveland Browns. That was the team that went 0-16. That was bad. The Detroit Lions, when I was like, although those early Tampa Bay teams were really bad, Ryan. I don't think this is holds a candle to those early Tampa Bay teams. We got another super chat. Appreciate y'all showing up and showing out with the super chats today. Really appreciate every single one of you. Wall Street Money says, if Shane McMahon comes to AEW, will Tony Khan have a ton of on-screen time? I think Tony is really goofy and funny. I don't think he will, and I don't think he should. I believe that if Shane comes in, the people who should act as the face of AEW are the Elite. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. Those are the guys you have out there. Those are the guys you have cutting promos. Those are the guys you have as defending AEW. Tony Khan, I held out hope because I really enjoyed that stuff that they did with the Elite and Tony in that beatdown at the Jacksonville show a couple of months ago. I really enjoyed that. But I also think that, like, they just did not capitalize on it. I don't think that they should do it. I just don't think they should move forward with Tony Khan as an on-screen character. If he, like, comes out, like, once and, like, or maybe Shane McMahon beats him up or something like that, that's fine. He should not be cutting promos. He should not be the leader. I think Kenny Omega and the Elite should establish themselves as that. As a Gamecocks fan, I wanted Rattler on the Panthers. We got Xavier Legette, I just lost it. We got Xavier Legette, but no one to throw to him. What do you mean? You had the Red Rifle, or as I used to call him, anyway. I used to call him the Red Rocket, guys. And I didn't know what that meant when I was younger. And I was like, oh, yeah, Randy Dalton, he's the Red Rocket. I didn't know what that meant when I was younger. So I was like, and then when I found out, I was like, oh, whoops. When they beat down Tony, I was laughing. It was funny. It was the way he crumpled. It was like, oh, shit. Wait, I almost crumpled there. Yeah, I almost ate shit. Oh, man. Bryce Young for a 5th round pick. I could see it. Hell, I mean, they might just give him up. Like, honestly, it's possible. They're just like, hey, what was it? Who was it? It was Brock Osweiler. Didn't Brock Osweiler a couple of years ago? His contract was so bad that the Texans traded him, gave up like a 2nd round pick or something in exchange for cash. Am I making that up? I'm pretty sure that was a real thing, but I'm pretty sure that was a real thing. Oh, man. We got Mondo with a good question. Actually, something I need to be talking about. Thank you for reminding me, Mondo. We got Mondo in the chat talking about the Ring of Honor TV deal. So this is a very good question. Let me actually pull up the report so I can accurately convey. That's what I'm trying to say. Ayo, hey. I'm not a rapper though. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. So this was a report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave Meltzer reported that the ROH TV deal, or negotiations are close for an ROH TV deal. Okay. We need to be clear. That means very little as far as who it might be. Or as far as like what this might end up being. I think the partner involved in these negotiations are Warner Brothers Discovery. I think Meltzer had reported that, like, you know, there's a possibility it ends up somewhere, but it likely will end up on True TV. If that is the case, that is fantastic for Ring of Honor. That is fantastic because not only are you going to be able now to kind of establish Ring of Honor on television, whatever it's going to be, it's not going to get views. It's not going to get, like, it might get like 100, 200,000 views. That's great. That's fantastic. That is still a lot of people watching live wrestling. That is still more people than were watching Ring of Honor a couple of years ago, or ever, really. And it's going to highlight the talent on that product. And hopefully it gives Tony Khan a chance to delegate that product and separate it out from AEW. I don't think you should have AEW tapings and Ring of Honor tapings in the same venues. I think once this deal goes through, whatever little cash you're getting at, invest it in a warehouse, invest it in an arena. Make the Honor Arena a thing. I know Jim Cornette a couple of years ago was talking about it. It was wild. They were gonna buy like a Kmart that was like 10 minutes from my house in near Baltimore, and they were gonna like turn it into the Honor Arena. Do that, but make it in Baltimore. I'll cover it. I'll be like there. I'll do one of those. Look, we'll create some content over there. All right, but like invest in that, or make it Daily's Place. Whatever you want to do. But make sure Ring of Honor is separate. You can have stars go back and forth, do like developmental NXT types of vibe. That's fine. But make it mostly separate. Give it its own vibe, its own entity, and let Jerry Lynn or whoever, let them take control. Tony Khan can have final say over whatever, but let them take control. I do think, too, this is a good sign for where AEW stands with WBD. They seem to be all in, pardon the pun, with Tony Khan and doing business with him. And this does seem, according to the report by Meltzer, that this would be, let me adjust this camera, that this would be a separate, didn't really adjust all that much, did it? This would be a separate deal from the current deal that they have with WBD, which is great. So, all in all, I think this is a good thing for both Ring of Honor, potentially really good for AEW because it allows them to focus more on the AEW product. As much as I love ROH and the history and all that, ain't nobody here at an AEW show to watch Ring of Honor, right? Ain't nobody here for that. Ain't nobody here for that. People are there to watch AEW. When you conflate the two, you drag it down. I'm sorry. And it got to a point where it was less special. You got Danny Huckins saying, I've lost hope in ROH. It's a dead concept, IMO. Right now, the way they're booking it, I don't think that it's weird because it's probably the least hot, quote unquote, that it's ever been as far as hype goes. But they're still like more profitable, I shouldn't say profitable is a very. They still have higher pay-per-view buy rates than they've ever had, and a lot of that obviously is because. Oh, my chair wasn't up all the way. But a lot of that is because they're under the AEW umbrella. I think, obviously. Cody Rhodes, all in. Oh, man. Don't make me cry. Don't make me cry. There was one chat in here that I wanted to get to. Someone mentioned something. Why would Shane McMahon debut as a face? Yeah, I think if he does debut, he'll be a heel, and he should be a heel. Oh, here we go. Ryan found my kryptonite, the Saudi mania. Let's talk about it. I legit have the Saudi show playing on my TV and watching and interacting with this chat on my cell phone at the same time. We can like different promotions at the same time. Yep, 100%. It's a very, 100% agree. Although I ain't watching that Saudi show. My own personal reasons. We got Wall Street Money. But I did hear that or I did see the clip of Sami Zayn like joining up with the Bloodline again. I was like, yeah, let's go, baby, Sami. I did watch that clip, admittedly. Ring of Honor is such a cool name for a wrestling company. No shit. No way. I don't know why that tickled me. Like, no shit. Yeah, of course it is. What a brilliant idea. Wall Street Money. I'm goofy today. Mondo says, ideas on what AEW can do to boost their rating. I think, looking back at the last couple of years, one thing that's become obvious is a lot of the early success that AEW had on top of, like, obviously the hype of this real, brand new wrestling company with these big stars that people had never seen. But a lot of it was people who were disenfranchised or just upset with what they were seeing on WWE. They just did not like the WWE product. And as soon as the WWE product got really hot again, it coincided with AEW and their ratings declining significantly. And you can blame some of that, obviously, on the decline of cable in general. I think it was like, I was reading like one of the quarterly reports for Warner Brothers Discovery. It was like something they were down like 11 or 12% as far as like cord cutting year over year. That's going to happen. So I think boosting ratings is a weird thing because what they need is exposure. And one of the things that's going to help them is being simulcast on Max. I think that's the perfect thing for them to do, because you're going to have a lot of people like me out there who are trying to cut the cord. And one of the big reasons I have not cut the cord is pro wrestling. Come January, AEW on Max, Netflix, those are two things I'm already paying for Raw. I'm sorry, we're not covering. This is not a SmackDown channel anymore. We're not covering SmackDown. Might have to watch wrestling a couple of times if there's a big one, but no. No more cable. We're cutting it. Cancel Christmas on the cable subscription on YouTube TV, all of that jazz. But I think, simulcasting their product is definitely going to help, because number one, it's going to kind of take away the ratings conversation out of the picture. There's still going to be a lot of people out there who are like, oh my God, AEW Dynamite did a 300,000 rating. Well, you're not accounting for all of the people who are now like watching on Max, which is going to happen. And, like the whole thing of like, channel surfing and things like that. Like when you're just on cable, it is harder nowadays to get exposure, because at this point, people kind of know what they want to watch when they put on, YouTube TV or whatever. No one's channel surfing. No one's like doing the thing where they're like, all right, what's going on? I'm flipping through channels. No one flips through channels. You're like literally scrolling. And that's if you don't know what you want to watch, which is like a very minuscule percentage of the population. But it's different when you're on an app like Netflix or Max, because those apps are intended for you to scroll. You're trying to pick what to watch. When you watch live TV, you're like, all right, I already know I'm watching football, I'm watching The Bachelor, whatever, right? It's different because a lot of times when people sign into Max or Netflix, unless you're in the middle of like watching a show or something like that, you don't know what you want to watch. You're just like kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Okay. And then the idea would be it would expose people to the AEW product that haven't been there. So I think the Max stuff is going to be good for them. Yeah, I cannot wait. Yo, Raw on Netflix too. That's gonna be so hype. I can't wait. You're gonna have Rock coming out there. I'm the fucking final boss, motherfucker. Like I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh man. I also think, Mondo, for what it's worth, another big thing that's going to help them or help AEW would be having a big storyline. And I think this could be it. If they also bring in Shane McMahon. The last time I watched a Saudi show, too much propaganda. I didn't like that. I think TKO will re-sign the Blood Money deal if there's more money. I think there will be. I think WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia will happen eventually, which is going to be an interesting moment for me and how I cover that. Sami Zayn messed up trying to help Roman. The Usos, you know what? I'm going to say it. For all y'all marks out there, I'm just going to say it. For all y'all marks out there who gave me crap for saying that Sami Zayn was integral to the Bloodline story, let me talk to you. Because this story, I'm not going to lie, wasn't hitting for me. This story, little dog poop. It's your big dog poop. Massive dump. Roman comes back, we getting better. Right? The poop is smelling a little more fresh. How you doing? Then Jimmy comes back. Okay, they reunite with Jay. All right, well, we've upgraded the poop. And then Sami Zayn comes in. The emotion, the feeling, all of it came back. This poop has somehow turned to diamonds in front of me. I love this. This is what I think we all loved about the original Bloodline. The dynamics, the characters, the emotion. No one was there for the matches. You were there for the moments. This is the best story that WWE's ever told, in my opinion. And I think they're just hitting their next gear with this. Because we're all leading to that moment. Sammy rejoins Roman. They hug. And we get... I can't wait. I'm animated. Let's go. We got Mondo saying, I love all promotions, watch them all. However, WWE appears to keep with Vince's old monopolizing crap. Yep. That is what big, large conglomerates are always going to do. That's why I always say, don't support companies. Support wrestling. Support the favorite wrestlers that you have. And that's just what, unfortunately, companies are going to do. That's just capitalism, unfortunately. AEW needs consistency, which is what they don't have. They'll have someone wrestle on Dynamite one week and appear for another 6 months. Yeah, that especially over in 2023, that was a major problem for them. I think they've gotten better over the last couple of months with that. But they have a lot to work on when it comes to that. I agree. Okay, Saudi show is over. You're on TV now. Yay! Hi, Ryan. Appreciate you, my guy. Oh, man. I need to watch Collision later today. I only got to watch like an hour of Collision, and then I had so I bought Madden yesterday. So I've been playing a lot of Madden, and I actually went and like looks for. So I'm like right now I'm in the middle of like looking for stuff for the studio, trying to build this out more. Trying to, I'm thinking like I have some ideas for like different podcasts I want to do in person, especially for youtube.com/Real Take Sports. Go check that out, guys. youtube.com/Real Take Sports for all your NFL, NBA needs. But you know, I'm trying to like build this out a little bit more. Little did I know how expensive it was to buy furniture in the real world, so gonna have to give cough up money to Amazon, unfortunately, because they produce everything for so cheap, and the boys gotta eat. All right, we ain't paying $4,000 for a damn couch. No. We ain't doing that. We started 2024 with Joe's world champion based year. I agree. You know what? Any year where Samoa Joe is on top, I'm here for it. Telling interesting stories, long-term booking. TK doesn't understand how to book week-to-week interesting television. That leads to long-term booking, creating new younger stars. I think he understands. So I agree, actually. I agree with this. I think Tony Khan, for a very long time, did not do a good job of booking week-to-week. I think storylines dragged out. Storylines got lost in the shuffle. Storylines got dropped. But if you look at like the early days of AEW, where I'll be the first to tell you, it's a lot easier to book from the beginning because you're working with a fresh canvas. You can slowly introduce new stars. But like when you've introduced those stars, people expect you to do stuff with that, right? So I really do think that there's I do think that there's there's a need there for AEW to adapt with the times. All right, we got. Oh, I missed a super chat. Let's see. Where did I go wrong? I see it. Thank you, Dwayne, for calling that out. I appreciate it. $5 super chat from Dwayne. Do you see Kenny Omega returning at World's End? If not, or Revolution? I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be World's End at the latest. I think there's a chance he shows up at Full Gear. That might be wishful thinking on my part, but there's an idea in my head of, the Blackpool Combat Club, the Death Riders, beating down, Orange Cassidy after Moxley retains. They go to Pillmanize him, and then that's where Omega comes in, makes a save. It's a big moment. It's like the New Jersey, New York market, insane pop, whatever. And then and Kenny Omega's back, tune in the Dynamite, right? I think that's like one of the moments that they are trying to go for, or they could go for. So I could see it as early as, then. The indication from all the reports, and also quite frankly, what Kota Ibushi has been like saying out there online, is that Omega is training and he's close. So I don't think it's going to be next week or the week after, but I think as early as Full Gear and the latest it happens is World's End, because remember, they have to build up Wrestle Dynasty a week after World's End. That is a big pay-per-view they're doing, and Omega is supposed to play a critical role in that with Hiroshi Tanahashi and the Young Bucks. So I don't think it's going to be until Revolution. Plus, you have two pay-per-views in between World's End and Revolution, now that I think about it, because you have Wrestle Dynasty in Japan, which is their first Japanese show, and then you have a Grand Slam in Australia, which I have not checked the Grand Slam ticket sales, but I'm not sure how they're doing or if they've been reported. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one though. Grand Slam Australia. I wonder because I think I looked last time I looked. It was like I was looking at the floor plan. They seem to have sold a lot of tickets in like the first deck. But the floor seems to be a little inconsistent, which is worrying. But we'll see what they do. But appreciate you, Dwayne, for calling that out. Thank you for letting me know I missed your super chat. If that ever happens for anyone out there, guys, just let me know. Doing my best to keep up with the chat in person, but just feel free to let me know in the chat, and I'll get on that always. Oh my gosh, we got so much here. So much to do, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? AEW stars like MJF, Swerve, and Ospreay, they just need to book them right in the right way. Upcoming stars like Tanahashi, Fletcher. Then there's well-known guys like Darby, Edge, and Lashley. I agree. Ryan, they are doing that to Swerve and Ospreay. Not sure why they're redoing MJF and Adam Cole. I think it's just having two of your biggest stars in a match. I think that's really what it is with those two. This past Collision was a step in the right direction. I felt invested in the backstage stuff. Yep. I did see the Moxley. Orange Cassidy, man. Orange Cassidy. When he delivered that super man punch was it Orange Punch? Excuse me. The Orange Punch. When he delivered the Orange Punch to Wheeler Yuta, or Kero Yuta. Shout out to Kero. I thought it was great. Tony did an interview with Bus Open a while ago. He doesn't believe in long-term storytelling as a way for AEW. I mean, but even if you look at AEW's history, they have told long-term stories. Like the biggest thing I can point to is like the Hangman Page stuff. This is like one of the longest told stories in AEW history. Took over a year and a half to even not even complete, but to close that chapter on. You'll get Swerve and Hangman, one of the best stories AEW's ever told as well. Like that, like they are capable of telling long-term stories. I think maybe what Tony was trying to say is like maybe he doesn't prioritize it. Maybe that is the thing. But like I don't even like think that he could say that accurately because they have told long-term stories. Should Tony Khan help establish developmental and a pro wrestling governing body, which would consist of AEW, Ring of Honor, MLP, Wrestling, Rev Pro, Oceania, shout out to Oceania Pro Wrestling, and Qatar Pro Wrestling. I don't think you're going to see a governing body. I don't think that'll happen in wrestling. Again, never say never, but I just think we're past a governing body in professional wrestling. Like this isn't the 1960s with the NWA anymore. I keep doing this. Minimize. But I want to keep you guys big so everyone feels important. Everyone gets a trophy. I do think that there's going to be more partnerships than there's ever been. And I think that's it's like a bit of with WWE and AEW, it's a bit of like an arms race for international partners. You see WWE doing it with Pro Wrestling Noah and other companies. Then you have like AEW obviously with a CMLL, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Rev Pro, Maple Leaf. I think it's more so like you'll see companies affiliated with each other rather than a governing body, and that will kind of naturally like help develop talent. But I would like to see more of a. My thing has always been I would love more so, to. Did we lose the chat? We lost the chat. Oh no. But I would love more so to. Oh man, did I lose? I think I might have lost some of the chat. So if the chat doesn't update, that's why it had to reload. Oh, some of the chat is back. Let's go, baby. Anyway, but yeah, I think I would honestly, personally love to see more investment done in like promoting wrestling in like less developed countries and or low income countries. I think there is such an appetite for wrestling throughout the world that I think it's doing a disservice if you're a company like AEW and WWE and you're doing all this global expansion and you're not helping build those markets. Like, at the end of the day, like, look, I'm not gonna be like the dude who's like, oh, you gotta do what's best for wrestling, because like at the end of the day, these are companies. That's why I always say support wrestlers, support the wrestling you like, don't support companies specifically. But at the end of the day, these companies are more incentivized to maximize profits, maximize dollars, and things like that. But they are not as incentivized to give back to wrestling across the world. That's something I would like to see change, quite frankly. Because you have, like, in a time where, like, we live in a digital age where, like, everything is available on Twitter, on Snap, whatever. It's easier to reach people than it's ever been. I think, like, you need to have more investment in actually building up wrestling in these different markets. I don't think the concept of Forbidden Door is broken. People act like we're seeing IWGP champion on AEW every week unless I see. I am not concerned with the concept of Forbidden Door. Neither am I. It's their most successful. Forbidden Door, outside of All In, is their most successful pay-per-view. You take buys, you take attendance. It is their most successful pay-per-view that they do outside of All In. That's just cold, hard facts. Like, from pay-per-view buys, average attendance, all that stuff, that is their best performing pay-per-view outside of the big kahuna that is All In. So I think, like, I understand why people might not like it, and it might not be for them. I think AEW, especially this year, did a very good job of integrating the Forbidden Door stuff into AEW television, especially if you watch every week. But I agree. Yeah, like, it's not an every, like, it is a seasonal thing. It is a seasonal thing for Forbidden Door. Oh man, oh man, oh man. We got Leo in the chat. Oh, a lot of people. Now that AEW has a lot of partnerships, Forbidden Door should be used to bring in All Together, similar to Japan's All Together show, which is New Japan Noah and a All Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah, I think that's what it should be. Oh no. Yo, Vince McMahon was wild. I watched that the other day. That came up on my, like, my recommended, like, it came up as like a YouTube short or something. And I was like, hey, yo, this man is crazy. I can't believe he said that. I mean, how can I not believe he said that? This man literally said, like, he said so much egregious that dude said the N-word on WWE TV to John Cena and Booker T. Vince is an insane human being. Horrible, horrendous human being, but insane is for sure. You may not know this, but that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Takeshita is an absolute star. He will outgrow AEW at some point. I could see that happening. And when that point comes, AEW is going to have to, they're going to have to fork up. Where is it? No, where is it? Hold up. You're going to have to fork up the cash, the big money. Look at that. This is not a $20 bill with a bunch of ones in it. This is all 20s. Make it rain. Whoop. But they're going to have to fork up the cash eventually for Konosuke Takeshita. That's for damn sure. Man, guys, I have enjoyed the hell out of this. We're heading down the home stretch. I'm going to give it like 10 more minutes. So get your chats in. Get your super chats in. Whatever you got to do. Make sure you hit that like button. I think 12:30 we're going to call it. 12:30 p.m. Eastern we're going to call it on this show. But in addition to hitting that like button, if you guys can, remember to show your support. Become a channel member. Get access to some exclusive perks like guaranteed reply-to comments, as well as custom emotes that you can share in the chat and be wild, run wild with. Got some Mimi stuff in there. So Leo says, really excited for Wrestle Dynasty. I am too. It's going to be interesting to see how they go from like a Wrestle Kingdom vibe to like Wrestle Dynasty and what that shift is going to look like. Thoughts on when Tony Storm is returning and how Thoughts on when Tony Storm and returning and how Hayter will Mariah May. I think Tony's right now, like, she's filming a movie. She was filming a movie about Mildred Burke. Like, she's playing Mildred Burke, who is a very old time ladies professional wrestler from back in the day, because that's what they used to call him back then. Which I'm really excited to see that movie. So she's playing Mildred Burke in something. She is like doing her little world tour. Australia, I think, is the show. Like, she's going to return by then for that show. And I think that's when she takes back the Women's World Championship from Mariah May. As far as Jamie Hayter goes, I think they need to build up that match, man. Jamie, I love Jamie, but it's been a couple of months now. They need to heat her up for that world title picture, because she did not lose that belt. She did not lose that belt. Returning and vacant legacy tag team. Shut up. Oh, man. In South Asia, there are a lot of wrestling fans. AEW, WWE should definitely run shows there. They should. As someone from Pakistan, born in Pakistan, I can tell you, would love for them to see that. I do think that, like, when you're talking about those companies running there, like, one of the big issues is, like, drawing. Not necessarily the people, because there's always going to be interest, but it's like drawing the money that they would want in order to run in those places. Because even, like, if you look at WWE, they originally had, like, this massive tour scheduled for India, and, like, it was all built around Jinder Mahal. That's why they made Jinder world champion. And eventually, like, they had, like, these stadiums, like, planned, and it was a big thing. They were trying to sell out cricket stadiums, and eventually they just did one show in, like, a 9,000 seat arena. So I think there's a disconnect with that market and what, like, those companies kind of want. They want to be able to make money off those shows, but this is not the way of those markets sometimes, especially, like, in advertising too. It's the same thing. We got John Wood Mass. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe if TNA doesn't make Joe Hendry world champion, that man is walking into WWE as soon as he possibly can. Like, that's what I believe. Jamie Hayter versus Mariah May, Forbidden Door, London. That'd be cool. That'd be freaking dope. Danny in the chat says, did you hear that AEW is going to have talent sign a waiver before they can appear Forbidden Door to prevent them from going right to WWE after their New Japan? I cannot hate on Stephanie Vacour for playing the game. I don't necessarily agree with some of the stuff she did with CMLL, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? She played the game. Shout out to her. Like, she got this massive match with Mercedes Moné. She got a lot of attention from it, and she got a bag. Shout out to her. She secured it. Leo says, I'm from Iran. Not sure if I want to endanger their lives as things are. But once things ain't no way they are now, I'd love to see AEW here in my country. I would love this. It's this, like, old thing. Like, I know people think of it as, like, cheesy or whatever, but, you know, one of the beautiful things about the late great Antonio Inoki, and I know people can disagree with, like, the way he went about it, and like, you know, certainly I don't fully agree with some of the things that he did in order to achieve these goals, but he really saw professional wrestling as a bridge for cultures and a bridge for peace. And I think in that same way, you can use pro wrestling, you can use art, entertainment, whatever. You can use that as a bridge for cultures. And pro wrestling has brought so many different cultures together. Like, you look at across the world, the different variations of fan bases, the different, you know, demographics, the different backgrounds of fan bases that that enjoy pro wrestling. It's like one of the most diverse fan bases there is. And I think like there's room to use that as a way to build true, not peace, but like a bridge, at least understanding, at least make people forget about problems for a little bit, which is what wrestling is meant to me personally. That being said, do I see WWE or AEW going to Iran anytime soon? Probably not. But I think, it'll probably happen one day. I think it'll happen one day. Never say never, man. Never say never. There's wrestling shows happening in all across the world. But never say never. Hold out. It'll happen. Worst case, come to Turkey to see some really good wrestling. Oh, wait. Maybe don't come to Turkey. I'm like thinking geopolitics in my brain. Oh, man. All those years of studying international relations really coming in handy on my wrestling podcast. But shout out to you, Leo. Kenny Omega doesn't need the Hall of Fame. He's already a legend in Japan. I mean, he is a Hall of Famer. To answer Wall Street Money's question, too. Yeah, Kenny Omega is a Hall of Famer. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter what Hall of Fame it is. Put that man in the TNA Hall of Fame. Put him in the WWE Hall of Fame. Put him in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Put him in the AEW Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. Whatever. Put him in the Real Take Hall of Fame. My first inductee, Kenny Omega. He's one of the greatest of all time. How about Statlander beating Mercedes and Mercedes going after the World Championship? I could see that. That would be really good for Statlander as well. WWE used to go to Iraq at the height of the war for tribute to the troops. They did. But that was also like, that was not for the Iraqis though. That was for like obviously American troops, which, I think is a bit different than, they still went there obviously, but it was like controlled by the USA and like, there's like a whole thing there that I'm not going to get into on this podcast. That's for a different channel. Leo Relic in the chat says Kenny Omega and AJ Styles should be in the Real Take Hall of Fame ASAP. Boom, they're in. Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, come on the show if you want to accept your Hall of Fame plaques. Come on. Oh man. I'm having a baller time. We got about 5 minutes left in the stream, guys. Let's finish it hot. Hit me with your hottest wrestling question. Let's go. I'm going to get to it in the next, 4 minutes. We're heading down the home stretch. Let's go, baby. Let's go. We got Omega is a legend. Yeah, damn right he is. You say his name, Kenny Omega, the god of professional wrestling. Oh, man. Don Callis is going to shit bricks when Omega returns. You should read. Oh, I actually did miss your WWE. I'm sorry, Wall Street Money. There's a lot of. Oh, or Majestic. Sorry, there's a lot of chat, so I'm trying my best to, keep things moving and get the thing. Let's see. Can I even find this chat? There's so many chats ago. Oh, I think I found it. Should Tony Khan establish? Oh my God, they're so big. God, did it again. Should Tony Khan help establish a developmental and pro wrestling governing? Oh, we already read that, didn't we? Was there another one that came in? Oh, there it is. Here we go. Will WWE ID ultimately hurt independent promotions such as Major League Wrestling, Progress Wrestling, Defy Wrestling, Full Impact Pro, the NWA, and UWN and OVW? I don't think so. It depends on the way WWE does contracts and things like that, and the way like they bring people up. But I think if anything, this has the potential to really help, independent wrestling grow bigger, because once you are talent and you're under that WWE ID banner, that automatically increases your value because you know that WWE is looking at you, and other promoters know WWE is looking at you, so they will see you in like a vein where it's like, all right, we're gonna have like this person who's in the WWE system on our show. That's gonna help us as promoters hype up our shows, sell more tickets, reach our goals, whatever they are. So I think it helps the talent. I think it helps the promotions. And for WWE, they want these people, they want these wrestlers to go out there and get reps. So definitely a win-win-win, I think, on all accounts. Depends the way WWE plays the contract, so because there's a chance where they'll be like, you know what? Triple H smoking a cigar in the game. And I don't want you to play that game, though, on that promotion on that night. And they, like, stop people from wrestling when they're contracted to. That would be wild. Will ROH be AEW developmental what NXT is to WWE? It should be. Will it be? It's all up to one person. It's up to Tony Khan to create the vision for that product. Will it be? I hope so. I think there's an opening now for it to be that. We'll see what ends up happening. Danny in the chat says, am I the only one who finds it weird that 3 weeks ago the Bucks and Jack Perry wished death upon Omega on Dynamite with a cake segment, and now the Bucks are turning babyface? I mean, they're not turning babyface yet, as we know, but they could be. Look, that's been the thing with the Elite, man. They have, at the end of the day, they are brothers. like you know, I mean, look, like, you want to be honest, man, Cody Rhodes tried to murder Triple H's entire or not Cody Rhodes, sorry. Randy Orton, that's what I was thinking of. Randy Orton tried to murder Triple H's entire family. 4 years later, they're teaming up again. Actually, like 3 years later, they're teaming up again. You know, like, part of it is it's wrestling. Characters evolve, times evolve, all that kind of stuff. But I also think it just makes sense for the moment. They do have to explain it away, I think, and I think they will. They usually do a good job of explaining those things away. Ring of Honor had too much history to be AEW's developmental. It's what it is now, and it's. I hope that they already kind of were AEW's developmental in a way. Like, it's got like a pipeline, but I think there's a way to do it where it doesn't hurt the Ring of Honor brand. I just want to see Christian Cage promo battle with Shane McMahon. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. He's like, my father, Shane, your father. Like, wild. I don't even want to know what that man would say. All right, last few chats here, then I got to head out. I distrust the corporation side of WWE too much to think that it will not hurt independent scene. The entire point of being independent is to not be associated with too much with the system. I agree with that, and I understand the skepticism, and I'm skeptical as well. At the end of the day, it's a conglomerate. It'll do whatever they want. Peak Adam Cole in ROH and peak AJ Styles in TNA were the people who got me into the non-WWE ecosystem. For me, it was Christian Cage in TNA, and then watching Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio do their WCW stuff. That was like what got me intrigued in WCW. And then, oh boy, I'm gonna maintain it, man. 1997 WCW was special. That was a special show. Nitro was a very special show in 1997 after going back and watching it. All right, guys, this has been an absolute blast. I appreciate every single one of you who have come through. Listen to the Rizzler. The Rizzler will say, yo, nah. This is, okay, before I hop out, I do need to speak on this because this is so funny. Shout out to Kenny Baum, friend of the show. Kenny Baum has like memed this into existence. Ever since like we saw the Boom guys, Big Justice and AJ, ever since we saw them at All Out, because like they were there for Chicago, Kenny's been like hitting me with the boom, all that stuff, and now I'm doing it. And ever since I saw the Rizzler on Fallon, I'm like, yo, AEW picked the perfect time, the perfect time to bring those guys on their pay-per-view, because boom. Like, yo, nah. Also, the Rizzler, man, this dude, iconic. Dude is mewing, and he's like 7. Like, iconic. All right, guys. Leo, thank you so much for your questions. Wall Street Money, boom. Ryan Davis, later, man. Go Bryce Young. Shout out to Dwayne. Shout out to Wall Street Money. Shout out to Mr. Majestic. Tony Khan would be better off having Jeff Jarrett revive GFW. No, do not revive GFW. Do not revive GFW. Don't give us that. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you dare do that. Bro was selling like cash for gold. That shit was crazy. But shout out to you, Mr. Majestic. I appreciate your support. Guys, be sure to leave a thumbs up. Thank you, Mondo. Thank you, Wall Street Money. Super duper thank you to Dwayne Jackson, who was very, very supportive in this stream. I appreciate you so much, Dwayne. Shout out to a friend of the show, Just Brian, as well, and everyone else who popped out and enjoyed the last hour and a half with us. I appreciate y'all so much. Oh no, yeah, y'all are awesome. Y'all are the best. Y'all are cool. All right. Until next time, everyone. This has been Wrestling with Omer. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.